Welcome to the EdNewsstand podcast. I'm your host, Troy Reynolds. This is Season 3, Episode 25 of the podcast. And this week's episode is going to kick off a series of episodes where I'm going to talk about online bookmarking. One of the most popular websites right now for online bookmarking is probably Wakelet.com. But Wakelet.com is more than just online bookmarking. It is a website where you can curate a collection of resources, and they can be website resources, they can be videos you found, images that you have, PDFs you want to upload, all about the same resource, all into one collection. You can keep that private for yourself, you can make it unlisted and only invite those members that you want as part of the collection, or you can publish it to the web and share it with the world. There are so many links and so many resources I want to share with you about Wakelet.com. Let's not waste any more time. Let's dive in. So to get started in the newsletter, there are 3 videos that you can watch. There is one about educators using Wakelet, and this will show you how educators are using it. There are tips for and resources for sharing on Wakelet. And then finally, it talks about Wakelet Spaces. And I'll get a little bit into what Wakelet Spaces are and how they're different from the main Wakelet site in just a little bit. Some of the other links in the newsletter this week, you can see that the main circle Wakelet takes you right to the Wakelet site. When you get there, you can look at some of the resources that are available on the site, but I want to show you when you log in, there are multiple ways for you to log in. You can sign up with email, you can log in with your Apple ID, with your Google ID, Microsoft ID, or with Facebook. Once you log into Wakelet, you'll see all of your collections that are available. If you're brand new to the platform, you won't see any of these collections, you will just see the green circle that says create a new collection. On the left-hand side, you'll see your username. So if anybody wants to follow you or find you on Wakelet, that will be the username by which they find you. You'll see how many followers you might have on the site, how many different collections you've created, how many bookmarks you've created, and then how many group collections you have made. Let's go check out some of the other links on the newsletter. The next link on the newsletter is the QR code. Now you can scan the QR code with any smart device that you may have, whether that be a phone or a tablet device. However, you can also just click on the QR code and it will take you to the resource that is available through the code. When you get here, you'll see that this is the Wakelet collection that I've created based on different resources that I've looked up or different resources that I've found through social media and people posting, different educators posting how they might be using Wakelet for professional development or in their classroom. You can see there are 22 different items that are available. You'll be able to see how many times your Wakelet has been viewed. And then as you scroll down here, feel free to look at this. As you scroll down, all of these are just different links that you can click on and view the different resources that are available. So I've got EdTech Leader resources, and you just kind of go through here and you can see the 22 different areas. And some of them are about how teachers are using it in remote learning, 10 ways teachers use Wakelet specifically in their room, ways to use Wakelet Spaces. So there are a lot of resources in here for you to kind of dig a little bit deeper if you think that Wakelet is something that you really want to start using in your classroom or just in your life professionally. The next link is the W here in the square, and I'm going to come back to this because this is the Chrome extension. And when I go to this Chrome extension, it kind of leapfrogs into how to use Wakelet specifically. So right below that, I have 2 different PDF resources that you can utilize. Now, this first one that looks like a book, this is the official guide to Wakelet, and this came out 2 or 3 weeks ago. It's basically your guide to how to use Wakelet. So if this video doesn't give you enough, the YouTube videos that I've provided in the newsletter this week doesn't give you enough background information on Wakelet, this is the official guide that's been put out so you can see the different things that are available in this guide. It's how to create an account, the homepage, and how to create a collection. So if you want a specific detailed walkthrough in print version, this is going to be what you need. It'll talk about your public profile, inviting contributors, joining a space, and then ways to use Wakelet and the credits that have been given to the people that have helped put this together. Right below that is another resource PDF book that has been put out prior to the official guide. And this one is called The Educator's Guide to Wakelet, and this was the official version before the official version came out. And you can see there is a little welcome letter, and this one has a lot of information in it, and it has been put together by Wakelet and other educators who are very proficient with using Wakelet. So you can see it talks about the Chrome extension, it talks about different apps both on iOS and Android, it talks about how to smash Wakelet with other resources, so using multiple apps together. Talks about the blog post, talks about the community, and the experts. So if you're looking for another resource on top of the official guide, check out this resource, The Educator's Guide to Wakelet. If you click on the little Google Slides link over here, this will take you to a walkthrough. It's a Google Slides presentation that you would give to people if you were trying to do a PD session. When you get here, it says you can make a copy for yourself. If you feel like you don't want a copy, just feel free to go through this. This will just give you a little bit more of a visual representation about how to get started using Wakelet. So if you're a little overwhelmed by the PDFs that I have provided and the videos aren't quite doing it for you, then just start with this Google Slides presentation because it will talk you through how to get started with the platform and what makes the platform so exciting and so powerful. Finally, down here you see that there is a link to amazing ways to use Wakelet. When you click on the image at the bottom, it will provide you with the amazing ways to use Wakelet in your classroom and kind of give you a jumping off point. Because if you're like, well, what would I use online bookmarking for? Well, here you go. You've got examples for pre-K to 8th grade. You've got examples for high school. You've got examples for university, how educators are using it for themselves, and how you can use it for your personal use. So look at these examples and see if, after having watched this video or some of the other resources that are available in the newsletter, that some of these amazing ways stick out. So just a couple of examples here. You can create virtual field trips for those pre-K through 8. You can do some reflection boards with the students. In high school, you can create newsletters or field trip info and share that out with parents or maybe some of your older students as well. At the university level, you can do group projects or students can create a portfolio using Wakelet. Educators, of course, you've got your newsletter. You can save Twitter chat. So if you join a Twitter chat every week, you can add that Twitter chat to your Wakelet. You can do blog posts through Wakelet as well. And then finally, for personal use, digital portfolios, journals and blogs, photo albums, scrapbooks, vacation ideas, a lot of amazing ways to use Wakelet in any facet of your life, whether that be personal or professional. Okay, we're going to come back over here to the W in the little square, and this is your Wakelet Chrome extension. Now, after you've clicked on the link, it will take you directly to the extension link. And when you get here, you'll see a little button on the right-hand side that will say Add to Chrome. I have already added mine to Chrome so I can show you what this looks like and how it works. So you'll see up in my toolbar is the W, and this is the Wakelet extension. And what this Wakelet extension does is when you open a new tab, the Wakelet extension is your new tab. So you don't get the Google tab anymore. The first time that you do this, it will pop up and it will say, do you want to keep Wakelet as your new tab or do you want to revert back to your old tab? If you, at that time, decide you want to stick with Wakelet and want to at a later point go back to the main Google tab, all you have to do is right click on the W and you go to your options and then you just turn this little slider off and it will disable the Wakelet extension as a new tab. What the Wakelet tab does is when you open a new tab, it will show you all of the current tabs that you currently have open in your browser. And what you can do is you can take those tabs and you can create a collection based just on those tabs. So let's say you've been scrolling through social media. Maybe you have Twitter open through TweetDeck, and throughout the day you found multiple links to various articles or resources that you want to look at later on. You don't have time right now. There are things you have to do. You go away, but you need to restart your computer and you don't want to lose any of those resources that you found. If you have all of those tabs there, then you can easily just create a collection from those tabs. Another nice way to do it is if there are specific tabs that you open every day, instead of going into Chrome and setting those to open when you open your Chrome browser every time, just create a collection and then you can go through and you can open those tabs based on that collection. So instead of going through wakelet.com and doing it, I'm going to create a collection through the extension right now. And it's essentially the same. And I'll show you from both perspectives, but I'm not going to go into it when I actually go to wakelet.com. I'm going to create the collection right from here. So what you do down at the bottom is you have the green button that says Create Collection from my tabs. So I'm going to click the button. Now, as this is saving and all of the tabs are dropping into my collection, I'm going to add a cover image. I can upload an image from my computer, or I can just choose one from the Wakelet library. I'm going to choose this little house here on the beach. And it will take a minute after I click on it, and now it drops in. I can choose from a full cover image to a half cover image, or I can hide the cover image altogether. Maybe I don't want one. I'm going to stick with a half cover image. Then I want to enter a title for my collection. I'm going to call it Podcast Links. And then down here you can see this is the default layout, and the default layout is Media View. But I can change the view of my current collection. So let's look at Compact View. So you can see it kind of makes it a little bit smaller. It gives me a brief description. This is my grid view. So again, just a little bit bigger icon with a little bit of information if the information is available on the site. Sometimes there isn't information, especially for these PDFs, but if it does go to a website, then it will give me maybe a brief description. I can look at a mood board. So a little different layout here. So my images and my links are a little bit different size, but I'm actually going to stick with the media view. And then I can do an easy reorder mode. So I click on this and then I can easily reorder any of the links that I currently have in my collection. So maybe I don't want this one to be on top. Maybe I want it to be second and I want the other one to be on top. So it's just a quick way for you to be able to drag and drop your links to be in any order that you want them to be. Up at the top, I can change the collection to make it unlisted, or I can make it public so it can be available to anyone. Over on the left-hand side, I have the invite button, so you can see I get a nice QR code. I get a link that I can copy and share out, or if people are going to be joining this resource, you can actually just copy the code and share out the code. I can also share out the Wakelet links through a username or email. So if I want to type someone's name in this, they will receive an email, and then they can join this collection of links that I've created. Once I've done that, I can actually manage the contributors. So if I have other people who have joined this Wakelet, I can choose to uninvite them, or I can change their ability within my Wakelet collection. You can see that changes are saved automatically, and when I'm all done creating this collection, I can just click Done in the top right corner. And then you'll see this is my collection. It has been done. It has been saved. I can click the three buttons and I can move the collection. I can change the visibility right from the dashboard here, or I can delete the collection altogether. If I want to add more to this collection, I can click the edit button and I can edit some of the links within this. I can add more links, or I can delete links specifically. When I'm within this collection of resources on Wakelet, I have some information up at the top on the right hand side of my toolbar. I can search for different links if I know that I've saved something in my collection. I can look at the showcase, and the showcase are just other community showcases that have been saved online through Wakelet, and maybe I want to look at these and save them myself or join them. So I click into this one, Ideas and Resources for Using Google Classroom. Up in the top, I can share this collection out. So again, I can get the URL and copy and share it through various resources. I can export the collection as a PDF, or I can do the three ellipses there. I can save to bookmarks, or if there's something inappropriate, I could easily report it as well, which I'm not going to do that. But if you find other people have shared their resources and made them public, you can go through their resources and you can save them yourselves to your dashboard, and then when they are updated, you can see the updates to the Wakelet. If I go to my home screen, you can see all of the different collections that I have created. If I click on the little plus button to create a new collection, you'll see I get the same information to start with. I can add a cover image, I can enter a title for my collection, and then just below that, this is where I start to add items to my collection. So when I click the plus, you'll see here that I can paste any web address. I can add text. So when I click add text, then I can add text in here. I can change it to heading 1, 2, bold, underline, or italicize. I can bullet some of the information, and then I can justify that information. Or I can write text and then also link out that text to go somewhere else. If I click the plus again, I can simply just upload an image from my computer, or I can choose from the library. If I click on the bookmarks link, the bookmarks are actually all of the links to sites that I have saved. And then when I'm in here, I can easily add these bookmarks into this collection, and they will stay in that other collection, so I can add them to multiple collections. I can upload a PDF, so if I want to take a PDF from my computer, I can easily upload that into Wakelet here and add that as part of my collection. And finally, the little grid here at the end of my information to add to Wakelet, you can see that I can add tweets, I can add Flipgrid videos, I can add videos from YouTube, I can upload images or documents from my Google Drive, or if you use OneDrive, you can import information from your OneDrive as well. When I add links into this collection, again, I have the easy reorder mode, and I have the same layout information that I did when I created my collection based on the Wakelet tab. The last area that I want to talk about is Wakelet Spaces. So you can see my avatar over here. This is my dashboard. This is my Wakelet space with my username. But what Wakelet Spaces are other spaces for you and other users. So let's say, for example, you're a high school teacher and you teach multiple classes throughout the day. In this space, you can create a space for each one of those classes and then have your students join the space, and they can contribute resources to that space. Or to take that another step further is, let's say one class specifically You have your students breaking out into groups because they're doing a project together. I would create a space for each one of those different groups, and then you can pop in and see what sort of resources they're curating for that research project. So let's get into this. I'm going to click on the plus over on the left-hand side of my Wakelet dashboard. And then right in this space name, I can add an image. So I can change my image. I can upload from the public library, similar to the way that I did before. Let's just pick the flower. I can zoom in, I can zoom out on the flower. This looks good enough for me. I'm going to give this space a name, and then I'm going to click create. Now everything looks the same, right? We have everything, the dashboard essentially looks the same, so I can get started creating my collection. I can see how many collections I've created within this specific space. I can see how many bookmarks have been made throughout the space and how many members are in the space. Right below that is the gear. I can click on the gear and this will give me my space settings. So when students join this space through Wakelet, it will show up as a separate space from their main dashboard. From this space, I can publish the profile, so you can see that each space has its own profile. By default, the profile is not visible to anyone, but I can publish this. So now this profile has been published and it gives me a different @ So when I go wakelet.com/@podcastexample9061, now people can find this space online. So here's the member section. I'm going to click on the member section, and this looks very similar to the instance that we looked at before within the collection about inviting members. So you can see here, invite members. So you can easily share out this specific space with other people. So right here I have my copy link. I can share this copy link through a learning management system that I might use with my students. I can just copy the code and share that out if they already have a Wakelet account. Through a username or email, a great way to do this is if you are an educator and maybe you're an ed tech coach, or maybe you work in a team, maybe you are a second, third grade, fourth grade teacher and you work with multiple teachers. You can easily put your teacher's email in this, and you can then share a space with the teachers that you might be co-teaching with. And then over here, you can see the pending invitation. So once you have shared out or invited members specifically through username or email, you will get the pending invitation space here. And again, this dashboard, this space is exactly like your space that you have under your Wakelet account. But it is separate because it is one that you are sharing with other members. You don't have to share this space with other people if you want to just separate it out for your own purposes. Maybe you are going on vacation and you want to create a space just on links you found for your vacation. Or maybe you have a professional development session coming up, you want to save a space just for that. Or maybe you have a unit coming up and you want to save some resources specifically for that unit because you want to share them out as the unit is being taught. You can just create a different space for literally anything you want. So that is kind of what spaces do separate from your main dashboard within Wakelet. So you can see Wakelet has some really powerful tools built into it, and there are so many different ways that you can use it. One thing that struck me in doing some research for Wakelet in talking on this podcast and creating this newsletter is when I went to Cult of Pedagogy, and she described Wakelet and online bookmarking as a curation tool. And I'd never really thought of it like that before, and so that's why I posted this little information on my newsletter. She said that creation projects have the potential to put our students at work in 3 different levels of Bloom's taxonomy. And so I thought this was interesting. So if you do use online bookmarking, and that's why I wanted to start this little session and talk about online bookmarking over the next several podcasts, is because when you do this, the different levels of Bloom taxonomy that students work at with curation of links is one, they understand where we exemplify and classify information. So it gives them, it can see where the voices are coming from and how to organize their information. Second, it helps them analyze where we distinguish relevant from irrelevant information and organize it in a way that makes sense. So it's helping students understand how to research specifically and how to make sure that the resources that we are finding fit what we are trying to talk about or what we are trying to understand or showcase when we provide our final project. And finally, it helps students evaluate where we judge the quality of an item based on a set of criteria. So if you have students, if you've given them the criteria with which they need to judge the information that you're sharing, it helps them evaluate. So it helps them understand the information, it helps them analyze the information, and then evaluate the information. So 3 specific ways that I really like the idea of using online bookmarking as a curation tool of different resources. So you can check out more. Cult of Pedagogy is within the Wakelet that I've created. The link is within the Wakelet, so you can click on that within those bookmarks and find that and read the blog post for kind of a deeper understanding of what she was talking about. That's it for this episode of the Ed Newsstand podcast. I really appreciate you listening to the podcast or watching the video version on YouTube because I know your time is valuable. Please make sure to check out the resources from this week's newsletter by going to wakelet.com. For more EdTech resources, you can follow me on social media. You can find me on Twitter at ReynoldsTroy, on Instagram at ednewsstand, or on TikTok at ednewsstand. You can also find various resources on my YouTube channel by going to youtube.com and searching ednewsstand. If you're listening on any podcast platform and would like to hear more, please like and subscribe to receive updates and have any new episode automatically downloaded for you. You can also revisit my previous episodes on any major podcasting platform like Spotify, Anchor.fm, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, or Google Podcasts. If you'd like to download my app to have my podcast and newsletters right on your smart device, please check it out at ednewsstand.glideapp.io and save it to your home screen. If you don't want the app but would like to check out my resources, please visit my website at ednewsstand.weebly.com. This is Troy Reynolds, and this is the Ed Newsstand Podcast, hoping you were able to take away at least one idea for your classroom. Please be safe. Until next time.